Daily Mail, for the love of God, learn to format your website. Graham Linehan says he feels like he's living through one of his own TV shows after the Father Ted and the IT Crowd creator had his Edinburgh shows cancelled over his gender critical views. Graham Linehan, 55, feels like he has become a character in Father Ted. Comedian has been vocal on his stance on the transgender debate. I mean, that's putting it mildly, if I'm being honest. But yes, the story is Graham Linehan was supposed to have shows done at the Edinburgh Fringe. I believe he was supposed to be part of a Comedy Unleashed at Edinburgh Fringe as well. And the shows all got cancelled. The venue shut it down and everything like that because the venue were like, we didn't know he was on the lineup. Yeah, they did. Like, venues know. They always check. They don't just go, you're holding a comedy night? That's all I need to know. No, they check. They always check, right? What happened was this place went like, oh no, we're getting the track. All right, okay, we'll shut the show down. And then the venue, quite rightly, got absolutely lambasted on social media. I mean, I'll probably get a few comments to make about The Fringe, but I'll save it for the end. He co-wrote one of TV's most iconic sitcoms about the misadventures of three disgraced Irish priests living in a parish on the fictional Craggy Island. Father Ted is an absolutely banging classic comedy. It's hilarious. I love Father Ted. But now comedian Graham Linehan says he feels like he has become a character in Father Ted after coming under relentless fire over his stance on the transgender debate. Linehan, 55, who was due to do a stand-up gig in Edinburgh last week, only for Leith Archies to cancel his show, he finally performed outside of the Scottish Parliament on Thursday after a second venue had pulled out. Basically, he just went, fuck it, we'll do it in public, which is something I know a few people have had to do that before. He said there's some steep irony in being a sitcom writer and then experiencing 48 hours where you feel you're living through an episode yourself. 5 years ago, when I could still secure work in television, I took obscene delight in putting my characters through various forms of social torture. Father Ted's so good. It's such a good show. IT Crowd is excellent as well. I love IT Crowd. Because when that came out, I was actually working in IT, so the show resonated with me. Now, I can't help feeling some sort of karma is playing out. Being a character in one of my own shows is not as fun as it sounds. Linehan, who was banned by Twitter in 2020 for saying men aren't women, admitted his Hollywood gig wasn't his best. He said, as a protest, it worked great, but as comedy, meh. I tried to dive into my act, but the weight of the past few days, the past 5 years, hung over me. Linehan was welling up in tears near the end of his routine in Edinburgh, telling the audience, I've never seen anything as insane as the last 2 days. And I keep asking people what I've said wrong and what I'm saying wrong in this fight about women's spaces, about children being mutilated and sterilised in gender clinics, and about the women who are being harassed and threatened for standing up. Because that is the thing that happens if you are a woman and you're like, what's the name of those homes for women that are going through domestic abuse, like a sanctuary or something like that. If you're saying, I don't want men in there, I don't want men in my changing rooms, I don't want men in my toilets, I actually, I understand it. I just on Saturday there walked into a toilet not knowing it was gender neutral, and I didn't like it. It's fucking weird. It is fucking weird. I'm not. I just have this thing where it's like there's women around me, like there's women, and I was like, I'm not pulling my cock out. I am not pulling my dick out because I was raised right where in a public setting, I realise it's a toilet, but it's still a public setting. You don't pull your dick out around random women you don't know. I was raised right. Okay, that just freaked me out, and I didn't like it, and I went, I'm going to wait for a stall. Like, I'm not pulling my fucking dick out around women. It was so weird. And I would understand why women would go, I don't want men in here, because there's a completely different feeling that they get around that, because men want to pull their cock out around them. And I keep asking people what I've said wrong and what I'm saying wrong in this fight about women's spaces. In fact, I've just read that a minute there. The audience then broke out in applause as the visibly emotional Linehan continued, comedy is my first love, it's the thing I love to do, but I have not been allowed to do that for 5 years. And this is just what I decided I would do, a couple of silly jokes, and they can't even let me do that. A fan shouted from the crowd, we've got your back, Graham. Audience cheers and applause followed. Linehan responded, I know you do, and it really helps. Linehan has, I know everybody knows that me and him used to have problems with each other and all that, but he was part of my original cancellation. However, he has realised how bad things have gotten now that the guns were turned on him. And some people might say, yeah, but you still did it. Don't give him shit for it now, right? Because see, if we start being like the left and other people go, look, I was wrong, yous were right, let's, fight this stuff together. We can't then go, no, because 5 years ago, you That's the shit that leftists do. Right, that's the shit. That's why their numbers are massively dwindling, because they're always kicking people out, whereas we should continue to let people in. If someone, let's not march them through the town square, whipping them naked, going, shame, shame, maybe a little, maybe just a little. Let's do that just a little bit. But if they come over and they're sincere and they're like, look, I fucked up, I'm very sorry, then, hey-ho, welcome to the party, pal. Linehan was responsible for 2 of Britain's most popular sitcoms and even enjoyed a hilarious cameo as an Irish TV executive in one of the best-loved episodes of Alan Partridge. He also did cameos in his own comedies as well. He won an Emmy Award in 2008 for Best Comedy for his sitcom The IT Crowd, which is... It's just a quotable classic, man. But 12 years later, his 16-year marriage to the comedy writer Helen Sarah came to end as a direct result of his trans battles, reported The Times. The pair have one son together. Speaking to the Mail in 2022, he said, politicians can't answer simple questions because these people, trans activists, have persuaded them it's complicated and difficult. It's not. All you have to do is stick to the principles we all know, the birds and the bees. People are terrified of getting into the debate, terrified of saying something wrong. If you disagree with them, if you say it denies biology or that the right to self-identity is a gift to sex offenders and con men who are able to completely erase any mention of who they previously were, they will try to destroy you. I'm not talking about trans people, I'm talking about trans rights activists. They tried to destroy me, they have taken everything from me. They took my family, my ability to earn a living. I haven't considered suicide, but that's what I believe they want me to do. Try to 41% them. Actually, I think it's 43. The statistics have updated. I'm so cancelled that there were 2 shows called Cancelled and I wasn't asked to appear on either of them. And here we are at the end of the article. Now, it is absolutely rotten what's happening to Graham Linehan because he is being attacked by a privileged group. So Graham Linehan is the underdog in this because the state, the institutions, the colleges, the unis, the entire, comedy institution of Britain are backing, these violent lunatics that want to assault women. Women go, we want our own spaces, and some guy in a dress is just coming up and cracking them in the jaw, going, you must be tolerant, it's ma'am. That's what they're getting, right? Now, in regards to the Fringe, right, I won't play the Fringe. I wouldn't go, because even though it's called the Fringe, it's like the most mainstream comedy event, right? And it's curated comedy. And I remember I got a lot of shit from them a few years ago because someone went, are you performing at the Fringe? And I made some gay tweet like, I'm too fringe for the Fringe. Absolute comedy sigma. Like, it was a fucking dumb tweet, right? But then I had like comedians for the Fringe getting pissed off at me. I had journalists emailing me like, are you actually banned from playing the Fringe? And all that stuff. And I went, no. Like, I'm not banned. I've never tried. I've never actually tried to get a show at the Fringe because because it is controlled comedy. I mean, Jerry Sadowitz was like, the Fringe's dirty little secret and stuff like that, right? Jerry Sadowitz makes me look like an absolute pussy, by the way, for the stuff he fucking says. But even he got cancelled from it. And I don't know why they allowed him for a long time, but then it got to a point where we can't ignore it anymore. Actually, I hate him, and I've always hated him for the bad things that he said. You fucking arse. He did. But the Fringe is curated comedy. It's not... I wouldn't class the Fringe as an artistic event anymore. Because it's controlled. It's controlled. There's no artistic freedom or expression or anything like that. The only way that you'll be able to actually have a show at the Fringe and keep it is if your comedy aligns with the dominant ideology at the moment. And ideological comedy, like controlled ideological comedy, that's not art. You're guiding it and you're controlling what it is. So I wouldn't even class the Fringe as comedy anymore. But I have a lot of people who go and I have a lot of people who enjoy it and everything like that. And sometimes, if there's guys that I know from America who I'll come through to the Fringe and I'll come to their shows. Like, I'll come to their shows in the Fringe. I wouldn't do a show at the Fringe. I like... See what we do at the moment where we pick a secret venue and we announce it like fucking... Like, on the day. We'll give you a general area and then on the day we'll say, this is where you need to be to come to the show, and it's all dead underground. It's in like back alleys and stuff like that. We always fucking sell out as well. If we do that, like, I love doing it that way because we get no shit, we get no protesters. We always make sure the venues are 100% absolutely on side. Because a lot of people that own these venues are like subscribers of our channel and stuff like that. We love doing that, and I love. It's like really underground, but it's just so much more fun. It's so much more easier, and it's like being able to just do shows knowing they won't get cancelled, because we've got. Funnily enough, I realised the comedy world has a blacklist. We've got our own blacklist. Sorry, of clubs and promoters who we won't work with, but we won't be obvious about it. We'll just say no thanks, but thank you for your time, and we won't work with them. And everyone, because these are guys that are trying to control the art that their very industry is based on, and those are people we kind of don't want to be involved. Sorry, not sorry. You care about pushing your political ideology. We care about actually preserving the art form itself. Right, that's what we care about. But still, the stuff that Graham is going through is absolutely horrendous and terrible. He is hyper cancelled at this point. I didn't even get it this bad. I didn't even get it as bad as Graham, and I do actually feel very bad for him. But hey, maybe I'll swing him a wee email, see how our little secret underground shows, Maybe I'll swing him a wee email, and you might get to see Graham Linehan.